AWS Lambda gets called serverless constantly, but almost nobody agrees on what it's actually doing under the hood. Let's open it up and look inside. Here's the question most explanations skip. You invoke a function and something executes it, but there's no server you provision, no container you built, no process you're managing. So what's actually running your code? It's tempting to take serverless literally and assume there's some magic happening with no machines involved at all. That's wrong. There are servers. Oz just owns them, manages them, and hides every detail of them from you. It's also tempting to assume your function sits there, always on, waiting for the next request. That's wrong too. Most of the time, nothing is running at all. What you're actually looking at is a packaged piece of code that AWS runs on demand, on infrastructure it controls entirely, only when something asks for it. Strip away the marketing and a Lambda function is remarkably small. You write a handler one function with two arguments, event and context, and that's the entire contract. Event is the payload that triggered you, a JSON body from an API request, a record from a queue, a notification that a file landed in a bucket. Context carries runtime information, how much time is left before your timeout, a unique request ID for tracing how much memory you were allocated. That's it. There's no listener you write, no port you bind, no process loop you manage. You never touch the operating system, the kernel, or the physical host underneath. You never write scaling logic or capacity planning. Oz decided all of that already. Your job starts and ends with what happens inside that one function body. Lambda function never runs on its own, it reacts. Something else has to invoke it, and that something is called an event source. API gateway can call it synchronously the moment an HTTP request arrives and wait for your response. S3 can call it asynchronously the instant an object lands in a bucket. SQS and Event Bridge can deliver messages or scheduled events, sometimes batched together to reduce overhead. DynamoDB streams can call it whenever a row changes. Each of these sources behaves differently. Some wait for a response, some fire and forget, some retry automatically on failure, some batch multiple events into a single invocation. None of that behavior lives in your code. It's configured entirely on the trigger side, which means the exact same function can behave very differently depending on what wires into it. Every invocation falls into one of two categories, cold or warm. On a cold start, AWS has to build you a fresh execution environment from nothing, download your code, start a lightweight virtual machine, boot the language runtime, and run any top-level code outside your handler, like creating a database client. Only after all of that does your handler actually get called. On a warm start, most of that work is skipped entirely, because AWS kept your last environment frozen rather than destroying it, ready to be woken up for the next matching request. That difference can be the gap between single-digit milliseconds and hundreds of milliseconds of added latency. For a low-traffic or bursty endpoint, cold starts happen often. For a busy one, most invocations land warm. If latency truly can't tolerate the wait, provisioned concurrency keeps environments pre-warmed at the cost of paying for standby capacity again. Scaling in Lambda isn't really a feature you configure, it's a side effect of how invocations are isolated. Every concurrent request gets its own execution environment, full stop. 100 simultaneous requests can mean up to 100 environments running in parallel, spun up automatically, with no load balancer to configure and no auto-scaling group to size ahead of time. Compare that to a traditional server where one process handles many requests and you size instances in advance based on a guess about traffic. With Lambda, zero traffic means zero running environments and zero cost. But this model has a sharp edge. Reserved concurrency limits cap how many environments a function can occupy at once, and hitting that ceiling doesn't slow requests down gracefully, it throttles them and they queue or fail outright. The billing model follows directly from that same isolation. You're charged for memory allocated multiplied by how long your function actually ran, multiplied by a rate billed in increments as small as 1 millisecond. More memory doesn't just mean more headroom, it also proportionally increases the CPU you're allocated, so it's a real performance lever, not just a cost dial. The moment your function finishes, billing stops. There's no idle server accruing charges between requests, and most accounts get a meaningful monthly free tier before anything is charged at all. This is exactly why the cost curve tracks traffic so closely. A quiet weekend costs almost nothing, and a viral traffic spike costs proportionally more, but you were never paying for capacity that sat there unused. None of this comes for free, and pretending otherwise sets you up for a bad surprise. Every invocation has a hard ceiling of 15 minutes, long batch jobs and video processing need a different tool entirely. Functions are stateless by design. Nothing writ to local disk is guaranteed to survive between invocations, so real state has to live in S3, DynamoDB, or something external. Cold starts, as we covered, are a real and sometimes costly latency tax. And counterintuitively, at high enough sustained, predictable load, a Lambda bill can climb past what the equivalent capacity would cost on EC2 or Fargate, Serverless pricing rewards spiky, unpredictable traffic, not steady maximum throughput. None of these are flaws exactly. They're the price of not managing a single server, and the real question is never whether Lambda is good, it's whether your workload fits the shape it rewards. So here's the model that actually holds up. You upload code, a handler function and its dependencies, nothing more. You attach a trigger, whether that's API Gateway, S3, SQS, or something else entirely. An event arrives, and AWS decides in that instant whether to reuse a warm environment or spin up a cold one. Your handler runs exactly once, taking event and context in, returning a result out. The environment is frozen briefly for potential reuse, then reclaimed if nothing else calls it. And you're billed for precisely the milliseconds that ran, nothing held in reserve, nothing paid for and left idle. A Lambda was never really a server in disguise. It's a promise: give AWS a function and it will find somewhere to run it exactly when you need it to and nowhere when you don't. Thanks for watching.